You know, the interesting thing about video podcasting versus doing just audio podcasting
Did you
is we
just say
used to do this
podcasting? You said
podcasting.
podcast. No, you said
Well,
podcasting. That's a
whatever.
totally different. That's a totally different show.
Stop body casting shaming me, Jason.
Pod.
All right. So anyway, the interesting thing about video podcasting that's different than audio podcasting is we used to do this really big build up before we would like introduce our guest. But the cool part is everybody sees that Carly Baez is here, that she's in living color, she's hanging out with us, and just like any other podcast, I am really very much excited about having Carly on the podcast today because she has some amazing insight into distractive driving, into behavior modification, into what creates distraction as a whole. So we're going to really dig in this podcast to learn a little bit more about that. So Carly, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you.
And I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So one of the things that we love to start with is we always like to give our guests an opportunity to share their origin story, superhero style, how you've gotten from where you started into where you are now. And you can start as early as you want. We've had people start. What was the earliest one? Like birth, womb. Right?
Yeah.
In the birth. Yeah. At birth. So you can start.
If you want to go back to conception, never mind.
No, that's a. Mm-mm.
No, my parents will probably see this.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, Carly, share your origin story with us.
My origin story is, well, I know that all of us as safety professionals have a different path, and some are very traditional, and me, I'm absolutely not. For the longest time, I worked on government contracts. I had some great opportunities. I worked with different projects and contracts from NASA to not actually like at NASA, but I supported some contracts and also different military contracts, or so some really cool stuff. And then there was a period of time where within the company that just they were reorganizing. So there was a massive layoff. So I want to say, I mean, it was like thousands of people lost their jobs. And I was one of the people that did. And I got brought into an orthopedic group to do some of the similar things that I did, which was I deconstructed programs and let me create training on programs and then let me deliver that training and let me then also teach other people how to use it. So that was really my background there. And in this workers' comp field, I got to then meet physicians and I got to hear workers' comp stories, and it just became this. Then I started doing some marketing, and I was attending AWCCA, or Arizona Workers' Compensation Claims Association's monthly meetings. One of them was the Rehabilitant of the Year Award. And at that dinner, you do hear stories of people that have been injured on the job and maybe what toll that had on their life or on their family or on just the way that they do things, whether it's I can't grip a tool anymore, so I had to learn how to do something else. Well, the particular year that really changed it for me, there was an incident where I was so incredibly, it still haunts me today. And I remember looking at one of my fellow coworkers and thinking, I'm done. I'm so done. I'm out of here. I was on the wrong side of workers' comp. I wanted to be on the preventative side. And so I had a contact in the association circle for small businesses, and he had a position that was open. And so I guess you could say I did some light stalking and convinced him that he should hire me and he should use me for training. I already know how to train. I already do public speaking. I already know how to put PowerPoints together. Send me to all the classes that I need to go to in order to do this. So I did. And he took a chance on me. And then when the association safety program was, but I don't want to say shut down, but ultimately it went away. I then knew I wasn't done. I didn't want it to end there. And so I then did some more stalking and convinced a colleague of mine that he and his insurance brokerage firm, should set some office space up for me and allow me to create this new association that could bring on these other associations so that way people didn't have to lose their jobs. The association I worked for, he closed his doors because he couldn't afford to keep the business open anymore. A lot of them did that. And so then I had to convince a national insurance carrier to do the same thing. And they took a chance on me. And so I then created this association program that was tailored to these, not only the associations that had these small businesses under them, but also the small businesses and what they needed and what they didn't have. A lot of the small businesses in Arizona, they don't have safety departments. They don't have a safety director or a safety coordinator. They relied on these services to keep their business owners premiums down, to keep their claims low or non-existent. And so it was a great community, just a great community platform for people to work together. And I really enjoyed it. And then I got picked up by Arizona Chapter National Safety Council, and I became a first aid CPR instructor. I became a um, I became a safety certificate or the advanced safety certificate instructor, and it was great. And then I got contacted by one of my very first mentors when I first got into safety, who said, "Why aren't you doing safety full time?" And I'm like, "Well, it just hasn't happened yet." He said, "You need to come work for me. It's in construction. It's with a steel erection company. I really need help with changing culture, and I really need help getting organized at this new project that we have out at Intel." And so I was like, "I'm doing this full time," and I was super excited. And I got to really change a culture within, and I never thought I'd be working with steel erecting. Um, Company that I mean, these guys are tough. And so I then, had to change their culture, and I had to change the way that they looked at not only safety, but also the GC staff and the GC safety. And then of course the Intel safety. It's okay to talk to these people. Don't be afraid of them. You as safety professionals know that as you walk on a job site and you see people that are like, "Oh God, I don't know what to do." I, mm-mm. I'm
Like
exactly.
it's like
Nope, nope.
cockroaches. Just
They
Yeah.
they do.
yeah.
And so, when you walk onto a site, and I'm a little unconventional, I'll admit, and a lot of people look at me like I've got two heads when I say this, but it really started with me and their attitude towards me. It wasn't me, it was the safety that was on my hard hat. So anytime
Yeah.
they saw me coming and I could see them like digging their heels in, what do you do? Do you keep trying to walk over to them and try to have a conversation with people that are just not about it? Or what I would do is I might start walking over to them and then look up and look down, or I don't, and they're like, "What is she
Oh,
doing?" And that's when you
there
come
she
in and go,
is.
"Hey, I'm Carly Baez. It's nice to meet you. I'm in your safety. How can I help you?" Maybe I'd go
Nice.
in and pick up some trash. Maybe I'd, whatever. Do you need some squincher bobs? I mean, something that just was different than, "I'm going to come in here, I'm going to flex my muscles, and I'm going to be the big bad safety and tell you everything that you're doing wrong." I'm not going to do that first. Of course, if there's something that definitely needed to be addressed, let's address it. But our first
Yeah.
meeting, we need to look at that. Our first meeting, nothing bad happened. It was all good. The second meeting, same thing. Maybe I had to hide behind a notebook and then peek around it.
Yeah.
Again, the same thing. "What is she doing? Hey, how are you? Nice to see you again." It opens that door because they're curious about what you're doing versus, "I don't want to talk to you." So I started really utilizing that in all of my other jobs since then. So um,
Nice.
and then of course, when I first got into safety, I took my 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 general industry 30 with Tim Page Bodarf, and
Nice.
that was a lot of fun. That's how I got to know him, and he invited me to an ASSP meeting. I joined the board right then and there, and it was
It was
all
over
over. It
with.
was done. And so I really got to grow up, is what I'll say. Like my safety career, I grew up in ASSP, and I'm so glad that I did it that way because of the fact
Yeah.
that I have never met a bigger group of people that are more willing to share. "Oh, you need a PowerPoint? Well, here you go. Oh, you need this policy I wrote? Here you go. Oh, no,
Yeah.
no, don't worry about it. You don't need to clear anything off." I mean, it's just nobody nobody in any other industry that I had worked in personally had ever done that for me. And so I feel really blessed. And then I started getting involved with government affairs and distracted driving in our state, and I was really excited to be a part of it. Um, and I mean, I went all the way within our chapter. I'm a past president. I just rode the bull as long as I'm still riding it, as long as I can, and I'm really happy. I actually feel like this is where I belong, and I know every safety that is really passionate about what they do, they'll say the same thing. I feel good at the end of the day because somebody went home to their family, somebody got to hug their kids at the end of the day. And
So
I
I'm
want that to be the same thing for even our drivers on the road, whether I work with them or I don't even know who they are.
so I've got to ask the first question here. How long have you been a fan of ABBA?
I know. Before you answer, I was going to make a connection there and make maybe the first the quickest Maldonado means connection.
Yes.
Okay, so stay with me.
I'm with you.
Did you know that Maldonado means light stocking in Swedish?
See,
Yes.
now I was gonna
Yeah.
just comment that you are so lucky that I'm not writing the copy for these episodes anymore because you said stalking no less than 3 times.
There were a few
Which-
things.
yeah.
No,
Which
but no,
would have
her
gone
her,
into,
her take a chance on me. Like in my
Yes.
head, it was like, if you change your mind,
I know
I'm the
it was
first
in your head,
in
wasn't
line.
it? I knew
Honey,
someone
I'm
else would
still
go
free.
there.
Take a chance on me.
See, boom, I knew it.
Oh, there it is.
And ABBA's Swedish, right? So that was my
Yeah,
reasoning.
I think it worked.
Okay, all right, it
I
all
think it
works
worked.
together. I wanted to
And I'm
call
not
out
Swedish.
something. Yeah, no, Maldonado isn't either. I wanted to call attention
think so.
to something, that might have something to do with the rest of this episode. But I like how you communicate with surprise. That's something I've been talking to people about lately. Is just adding a little element of surprise to how we approach the workers, and it doesn't have
Mhm.
to be like surprise, because you're not going to do
I don't
that
wanna
with
scare
iron
'em.
workers. Yeah, that's not safe.
Plus, they don't fall
Little
for that.
bit. Yeah, like you think they're expecting one thing, and then you come at it at a completely different angle. So
Yes.
I love that. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you. And it worked. And so, I mean, even when I was working in a bunny suit in the fabs, it's miserable. You're hot, and the guys are working 8 hours a day in there or more. And I, God, love them and give them lots of props for doing it. But it would be the same thing. Like, oh, now I have to deal with this. A new safety. And the same thing. Hide behind my notebook. And they're like, what you doing? Like, hey, nice to meet you. Exactly. Because they don't expect you to do that. I don't know if men would feel comfortable doing that so much, but who knows? I don't know. You would? I see you shaking here. Good.
Yes,
Because I've
yes, I
seen
would.
some safety have looked at me and been like, you're crazy. I would never do that.
Well, I am crazy, so it fits.
Say that out loud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's okay.
Yeah, I did. Okay. Okay.
Mm.
You started to talk about the distracted driving stuff and about like government affairs. And
Mhm.
when we were talking before the episode, you said something about how I'm paraphrasing. You didn't say this directly, but like laws are great, but what about behavior? And I feel the same way about safety, but maybe we'll take it on this distracted driving topic. But here in Minnesota, we have a law. You guys in Arizona got a law. Everybody has a law. It's like Oprah and gifts. You get a distracted driving law. You get it. So that should solve our problems, right? Because people don't want to pay these tickets, right? What's the problem?
You think, but you still see people you're like, oh God, please, I'm going to slow down because I know you're just going to ram right into me. It's still, you still see people driving through lights with their head down. How do you even know where you're going?
I just don't understand it anymore because there's so much technology now that'll read to you, it'll prompt you. Anybody that and the ones that really drive me nuts are the ones that are like this on their phone, with it up their head. I'm like,
With a brand
that's
new
not
car.
how phones
In a
work
brand new
anymore.
car. Exactly.
Well, I do have a question for you though, since you mentioned that the technology in the car. Yeah, that's I'm not that talented. I'm just not. I'm not that talented. I do have a question for you though. When you
Mhm.
mentioned technology, so have any of you tried talk to text while you're in the car? It's okay. It's okay. Like you can. Okay.
I talk to text them at nearly every red light that I stop at, and it stinks because sometimes you do have to pull over to make corrections to the talk to text because it's bad. Oh, it's
It's
so
bad.
bad.
So imagine if you're driving and me, I feel that distraction is distraction, that hands-free is not enough. I feel like if you are talking to text and you're going over bumps, some roads in different states are way worse than others. You've got people in the back seat that are trying to make your life difficult, that are trying to talk over you, so that way your text sounds completely different than what you actually wanted to say. You've got kids screaming or kids just playing. You've got road noise. You've got other things happening in the car. So how many times are you actually correcting that text? And how long are you actually focused on, no, that's not correct, re-record or whatever it is that you have to say to your car? How long are
Yeah.
you actually doing that? So is it really safer? Because you're focused on, and you're getting more frustrated because it doesn't understand me. And then maybe you're sitting up a little bit higher and you're trying to shout into that speaker that's up above you. I mean, I'm short, so some people are taller than others and they don't have to do that, but I can't do it because it just makes no sense with my height. So
I have to share the most interesting talk to text message, not Mexican food, Mexican food. No, text message that I ever got. My wife was doing that one time, and she had texted me, what do you want for dinner? And then it was like there was a space in the text, and then it was like, you stop that right now, put it down. Do you want me to pull this car over? And she was like, I just had to send it to you because it was so it was so perfect. So yeah, talk to text is fun, but
it
it
is.
is distracting. But it is distracting. I 100% agree with you there.
Mhm.
With the Senate and the House bills is and there were victims advocates that were part of this too, like my previous coworker Tom Geltz, who has an amazingly horrible story with distracted driving. But it was very key that we say distraction and distracted driving. And so the key was hands free and not I think they said like distraction free was something that people were first phrasing it as, but it's like, no, you're never going to be distraction free. But if we can get the thing out of like the hands, and so you're not tempted to text or do voice to text or look up Zillow listings like some truck driver did and killed somebody. There's reasons behind the language that we use with these laws, but still it's the behavior. So how do we really impact that behavior change or modification, like you said?
Well, really what we have to look at is, first of all, we can't just go to, when I speak on distracted driving, and I kind of made a joke about this, I can't just say, okay, everybody, don't text and drive, and I'm done. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Why not? We all know we shouldn't do it because we ourselves, I used to text and drive. I'm not perfect. I used to do it. I had to stop, uh, especially when I became a safety professional, and because it was kind of ironic if I didn't. But uh, you know, I had to really understand my relationship with my cell phone. I had to understand my own behavior. So if we look at, where does it come from? Because in order for us to make any changes, we have to understand why we're doing something. So let's go back to when we were kids, in the back seat of our parents' car or family car or whoever it was that was in our life. I remember looking out the window in the back seat and seeing the things that were happening on the road. I remember seeing people that were opening the giant maps across the windshield. I don't know how they saw anything. And then, of course, you look at a map, you're like, where's that road? Where is it? How do they even see anything? So here we
What's a
have,
map?
so a map. It's a big paper folding map, and it used to
Okay.
fold down to like this, thick this. It was really
Only once,
amazingly, and
though.
then it was this
Only
big
once.
accordion, and sometimes they were double-sided. So do you even know what side you're on? And then, so then, so looking at that, nobody got pulled over. Nobody ran over anything, hit anything. There was no crash. Nothing bad happened. It's okay. So many, as you see that over and over and over again, that could partially solidify for you as a child that this is normal behavior. Let's look at something else that people do behind the wheel. They drink coffee behind the wheel. Coffee, because this was actually one of my favorite
Jason does the makeup.
examples. I'm gonna get to that too. I'm gonna get to that. Let me see in a minute. But yeah, hold on. Uh, But if we go through a drive-through, we get our coffee. It's really anticipated first thing in the morning, especially if you don't have time to make a cup before you leave the house. So that caffeine IV is just waiting for you to start just giving it the morning caffeine that you've been craving. So you take a couple sips, maybe you have iced coffee. Let's say it's iced coffee. You take maybe 3 or 4 good pulls on the straw. And then because we're really good drivers, we're going to make sure that we're paying attention to the road, but we're going to feel for the hole in the cup holder before we set it down. We think we got it, we let go, and then you hear that sound of the cup hitting the seat and the lid popping off and the liquid just splashing into the seat and on the floor. And as if to add insult to injury, the ice is bouncing around on the floor. What is your typical reaction? Are you a are you are you a calm and cool, oh, I need to pull over and take care of that? Or many of us may experience surprise and panic where you got that tiny little napkin from the drive-through and you're trying desperately to soak it up. Like I've got
I would never
ventilated
do that.
seats, so
Yep.
my first thought would be like, oh my God, everything that's in the seat. Or you're reaching behind you or back in the seat, like surely I have a towel or I've got a t-shirt from the gym or something. Meanwhile, as you are swerving all over the road because you're panicked trying to find something, how many opportunities did you have to actually pull over and take care of it, whether it was a gas station or a drugstore or a car part store or a car wash or
Yep.
something? A
A
lot of
coffee
us
shop.
a coffee shop. A lot
Yeah,
of us
a replacement.
experience surprise and panic.
So
A lot of us really experience that.
I think we might be sitting on a gold mine here because I'm sure that happens millions of times every day.
Mhm.
And I just had the idea, you said the ventilated seat. So I'm like, what if they went the other direction and you just flip a switch and it sucks it all out and exhausts it into the back seat and sprays your kids in the face. And
You better
then
patent that before this goes live.
yeah, then your kids will shut up because they'll be so no more distractions. And you're
We're
driving.
just trying
Yep.
you're good.
Yep.
Some of the other things that we see behind the wheel, we see people eating. Um, one of my friends made fun of me because I said something like, I remember a guy eating a taco that had no wrapping, no napkin. And amazingly, as he bit into it, it was a hard shell taco. The whole thing exploded all over him. Surprise and panic happening there. But he didn't crash into anything. He didn't get pulled over. Nothing bad happened. See women that are putting their makeup on. And the eye, anything with the eyes, I was always glued to the window, like waiting for them to hit themselves in the eye. Uh, Nothing bad happened. Keep going. Uh, it could be something where I saw people reading the newspaper, reading a book, or doing the crossword puzzle, or going through their briefcase before people had laptops in their car, and nothing bad happened. So all those years that I'm seeing nothing bad's happening, that's solidifying for me that this is typical behavior. So no matter what my parents tell me, or no matter what my driving instructor tells me, nothing bad happened. So before we're even old enough to get behind the wheel, we already have an idea of what we're allowed to do behind the wheel. So now, if you add the technology and behind that, what are our kids seeing? What message are we giving our children? And then when we start driving, the first time we looked at the phone, do you remember the first time you ever picked up a phone while you were driving? Were you super nervous? I remember I had to really think about it. I was really nervous, but I really thought it was really important. Nothing bad happened. And again, nothing bad happened. I did it again, nothing bad happened. So now I'm a great driver.
So
I'm just lucky.
I actually remember checking my pager while I was driving. So I'm a little older than the most of y'all. So I can remember, having the pager up on my my visor, and when it would go off, I would go, who do I need to call? But speaking of inventions, I love how fast food has gotten in line with the idea that we're going to eat while we're driving. I'll give you a great example. When you go to Sonic and you get a foot long chili cheese dog,
Oh God.
it comes in this like carrier. It's like a boat that it comes in, but one side of it will, like, if you actually just peel the side down and open up the flaps, you can just slide enough out to where you can take a bite, slide enough out to take another. It's just as distracting. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that
That's 10 times worse than anything else.
They've created a way to not be distracting. It's just as distracting. But I did one of my social media safety moments on the French fry is what it was called, because it was all about distracted driving, and it was about, you know, the golden fried deliciousness that is fries, and then you drop one, you know, and you lose all sense of
One
what's
of the
going
little
on
crispy
around
ones,
you.
one of the little nice crispy ones at the end.
Oh man, might have a little bit of ketchup on it. Did that ketchup land on your shirt as it rolled down? Is it stuck in between the seat and the console? Did it go to your
Well,
feet?
the other ones.
Are you
chili dog,
stomping it into the carpet? I mean,
Are you sitting on it?
yeah,
Total distraction. But I mean, those are the things that if you really think about your journey, if you really start thinking about the things that you remember as a kid, or even as a teenager, or even as a young adult, or even now, the things that are solidifying and reinforcing that behavior is just I think that's in order for us to really get why we do what we do, we have to understand what our own journey is, and everybody is different. But there's a lot of similarities between what I may have experienced and what you may have experienced. So there's that. And in order to look at additional behavior, when we say, all right, you need to make a change, no matter what it might be, what's the first thing that we think of? Oh my God, I got make a change. How do I make a change? Like, this is me. I've been doing this for years, or I'm a great driver. I don't need to change. Really? Have you ever told your children, like, don't tell me how to drive in my own car? Have you ever had someone sit in the passenger seat gripping onto something? You're like, don't worry, I'm a really good driver.
Well, yeah, I
Have
was
you
very
ever
against it.
experienced someone? I had someone that yelled at me because I said, can you please not text and drive while I'm in the car? And they said, don't you ever tell me that again. Mm,
I
I'm
won't be
not
riding
sure
with
if you
you
really kind of
again.
know who I am or how my reaction might be, but I reacted and told him how I felt about his statement. And ultimately, the appropriate version of it is that I advocate against distracted driving in the state. It doesn't end just because I'm in the passenger seat. We can be an advocate, and our children should be an advocate. If one of your kids says, hey, I don't like riding to school with so and so because their mom texts and drives and she's all over the place, I'm really afraid she's going to hit something, would you make them continue to ride with her? So if another child said that about you and they said that to you in the car, what would your reaction be? No one wants to hear that we're wrong. That's the other thing. No one wants to hear that we're wrong. But as a community, if we're able to go, okay, this is how I do things, this is my relationship with something, it makes it easier for us to identify what the issue is. It's easier for us to identify how we got to that behavior and that reinforcement. And then, okay, so how do we make changes? Well, when you understand what drives that behavior, then you can go, okay, now I need to counteract it. So, coffee, as safety professionals, we have to be prepared for anything, right? So, do you have a plan when you get in your car? Do you have extra towels? Do you have a flashlight? Do you have a first aid kit? Do you have cones? Do you have whatever? What if you, open a packet of ketchup for your French fries and it explodes all over the place? Do you have baby wipes or something to clean it off? We always make a plan for something. We make a plan for a trip. We make a plan when we're packing to get on an airplane. We should also make a plan when we're going in the car, even if it's just a 30-minute drive.
I love how universal these messages are, because these are all things that we've talked about. You've hit on, not gauging your level of safety by the outcome, because obviously if that's something that's huge, and that's something that we are perpetually stuck in. So I understand why, since we're still having problems telling people that the OSHA recordable rate isn't a big deal as far as an indication of what may or may not be wrong. It's the same exact thing for you telling somebody, that don't text and drive because nothing's ever happened, or all these things that play in. It plays into the bigger picture of what we do as a profession. So there's a lot of psychology to it. But the thing I wanted to kind of circle back to was the dopamine part of it, and this is a throwback to Abby. Abby's obsession with the social dilemma, which she did a show on a few months back. But it is such a compulsion, and I'm horrible at it. I'm always on my phone. My screen time counter is just obnoxiously awful. So if it dings or buzzes or anything, it comes out, and I don't even think about it. And I have a couple people in my life are like, "What are you doing?" I don't know. And half the time I don't even remember looking at it and I put it back. So there's that too.
Well, I have
Turn
the
those
perfect
notifications
activity for you.
off.
I actually came up with an activity when I spoke for the Paradise Valley Police Department's Coffee with a Cop, and I called it a community challenge. And what you do is you need to have 30 minutes, because how far can you get wherever it is in your town or city in 30 minutes? Typical driving, probably most people will drive 30 minutes to work. You need 30 minutes. Make sure there's no deadlines, make sure no one's in the hospital, make sure, you can really devote 30 minutes. You need to have your cell phone ringer on and all the way up, volume all the way up. You need to do this with your family or coworkers. And I know with COVID, we got to be socially distanced, but just make sure that you're in a group. The idea is to hold on to your phone, face up, and for you to do whatever activity it is, whether you're having a conversation, you're watching a movie, you're playing a game, and no matter what your phone does, you can't turn off notifications. No matter what your phone does, you cannot respond to it. What is respond? Respond is, of course, I put my phones over there so we wouldn't hear the buzzing, but respond is looking at it. Respond is touching the side button to stop the ringing. The responding is turning the volume down. Responding is picking it up and putting it face down. Responding is, oh my, oh, I hate this. Anything is a response to your phone. And anytime that you respond to your phone, you are actually reinforcing your behavior. So you are basically trying your best to ignore the phone. But also take note within that 30 minutes, how do you feel? Is your anxiety level going up? Is your brain going, yoo-hoo? Hey, there's that thing's making noise, like we always pick up, like what's wrong? What is she doing? And then your brain might say, hey, arms, are you asleep? Are you working? Okay. Shoulder, having a problem. Can you raise it? No, she's not letting me. Sweat glands. Can we start sweating, please? Your body will go through all these things as you're ignoring this. And then my challenge was, if you did respond to it or have a reaction to it, you had to add 10 seconds to those 30 minutes. And so it kind of became like a challenge with a bunch of different people that you might be with. But at the end of those 30 minutes, take note of how you feel when you can finally look at your screen. How do you feel? Do you feel that, that release of all that anxiety? But also take note, what did you actually miss in 30 minutes?
Yeah. I
And
think
then,
for me, is like one of the big, when I've done that and I'm not good at it, I've already told you how awful I am, but the times that I do, or say I go up in the mountains or something, which I did last weekend, and the phone just doesn't work. After the half hour or hour or two that I'm having the anxiety, I actually do kind of feel refreshed. I'm like, oh, it's pretty out here and I can breathe better, or whatever it is. So yeah, it's about a lot of reprogramming, I think, for sure.
it is a lot of reprogramming. And so what can you do? When you get in the car, have your phone automatically silence all notifications when it's connected to Bluetooth. I did find out that anytime I used the USB port in my car, it does not it doesn't use my Bluetooth because I'm not connected by Bluetooth. So I have to literally just put it in. I've got a flat charger that I can just place it on in my car. It's connected to Bluetooth. So if anybody texts me, they'll get a message saying, I have driving with do not disturb turned on. I will respond to your message when I get there. And of course, my phone, I don't know how to change it, puts in another secondary message like, it's not safe to text and drive, blah, blah, blah. Keeps going. And everyone's like, why'd you send me 2 messages? My phone did. And
you should
then
program
also,
it to like a conversation with them about that. To be like, listen, quit texting me. This is the 3rd time I told you I'm driving,
Like a bot.
How stupid
and
are
also,
you?
but also let people know that I don't text and drive. I
Yeah.
won't answer my phone if I'm driving. So if I don't respond, probably in the car. And I even told my employer that I don't text and drive. So if you call me, I will call you when it's safe for me to do so. Plan your trip, set your music. We all have music in the car. That's something that I don't think any of us are going to give up. Set your playlist to play. Set your navigation. If you've got to change your navigation, pull over or get off the freeway. Maybe it's a good chance for you to top off, right? Before you change something. So those are the things, that just those minor little changes, because if we are constantly looking at our phone every time it rings or dings or beeps or vibrates or anything that it might do, is it safe to say that even though we know we're not supposed to do it in the car, because we do it everywhere else, that we would forget that we're not supposed to look at the phone when we're in the car? Because it's a
This
habit.
reminds me, yeah, totally. This reminds me of a book I read. It's called The Distraction Addiction, and it was written, I think, in 2013. So it surprisingly encompasses a lot of things we deal with now, but a little outdated in some parts. But it talks about this concept of entanglement with our devices. So we are like physically entangled with our cell phone, our tablet, our laptop, our social media, whatever all these distractions are. And so then it becomes like it's a part of your body almost. So we have to work with these devices to, put the settings, like Jason mentioned, the notifications or silencing notifications or using any other tools that we have available, because we can't trust ourselves in the moment based on all this habit and everything that you've been talking about, where we've been rewarded basically, for texting and driving and nothing bad happened to us because we're all here.
Right. Or put your phone away.
Speaking of outdated, Abby, I wanted to interject something a little bit. I was just getting ready, setting her playlist so she can ignore what's about to happen. It has come to our attention that we do not provide our listeners with enough technical content. Therefore, I decided to switch it up. I've been reading some really bland stuff over the last few weeks, and I thought that I would get out this riveting piece of prose that was published in 1991 by Mr. Stephen Pheasant. If any of you in the know him, he's probably dead. I'm sorry, Stephen. If you're not dead, I'm sorry. But since you were Carly's sitting here going, what just happened? But you mentioned at the beginning of the show that Abby's writing a letter to Stephen. I'm sorry for what we just did to you. All right. You mentioned working with physicians and being, around Ahmed and things like that. And that got me thinking about just a little bit of education. Soft tissue injury prevention is really important in what we do. So, everything that we can learn is great information. And if this is any indication, after 48 pages of this book, to find a gem like this that's just so meaningful and insightful is just, this thing's got I don't know why I haven't read it before. Post-exercise soreness. Muscle soreness is particularly associated with the eccentric muscle contractions, based upon a study by Comey and Buskirk in 1972. Just so you know, the proximate cause is probably damage to the muscle fibres, the muscle fibres. He's British, yes. To attachments or to connective tissues within the muscle. Eccentric contractions would be most likely to cause such damage. Fast twitch type 2 fibres are particularly affected, according to Newham in 1988. Thank you very much. This has been your Step It Up safety moment. You can thank me later.
I love that. We were talking about. Yes. I'm riveting. In fact, we were talking about old school distractions, and I was thinking about a time before the technology that we have today, and then I thought about the movie Grease, and the part of Grease Lightning when he's singing Grease Lightning. There was a lot of distracted driving occurring during the race that was Grease Lightning. And I say all that to segue into one of our favorite parts of the podcast, which is the lightning round.
I get
which
it
is
now.
the lightning round. So, Carly, what's going to happen is we're going to ask you random questions that may or may not have anything to do with distracted driving or behavior modification. And you're going to have 10 seconds or less to answer that question, which means you may get cut off at 2 seconds. It's hard to tell. You may get if you're talking riveting, we may even extend it to 15, but it's supposed to be 10 seconds or less. And Mr. Maldonado, do we have a sound in case she does go above 10 seconds?
Yeah, I think we do. It's this.
Wow.
I love it. Perfect.
I don't know about that one.
Perfect.
Well, let's hope we don't have to use it. Okay.
Perfect.
I want to start off with a relevant question. You started to talk about family and getting them involved with your journey towards breaking your distraction. So what is your best tip for involving family and breaking your addiction basically to your phone in your car?
So I actually spoke with high school students and told them that, when you're in the car, what are some of the things your parents have told you? And they've said, don't do this, or don't tell me how to drive. If you do that again, I'm going to punish you, or I'll take this away. Or I'm a really good driver. I said, you know what? You should actually tell your parents you're not a really good driver. You're just really lucky. And the silence that was in that room. And I said, no, I'm serious, because it's luck. It has nothing to do with how good you are. You really are not that good that you can drive a car and not have any idea where you're going. I said, if they do punish you, okay. But later, have a family discussion as to why you brought this up, that you were concerned about the safety of everyone in the vehicle. You wanted everyone to get home. You wanted to get home to mom or dad. That was,
Oh, that
oh,
was so good. It was good.
It was good.
I have a lightning round question. What commercial jingle gets stuck in your head all the time?
oh gosh. I would probably have to say
We'll
that
never
one.
know.
Wow.
We'll never know.
1877 cars for kids. Okay.
By
I don't know that one.
Menon.
Okay, so I have to. Two
She
things.
got it in.
Two
I
things.
have a pickle like that. I have a
Oh,
pickle.
I'm glad you have the pickle because
I-
you're in trouble now. Anyway, you mentioned that you brought this on yourself because you said that you grew up in ASSP, and it's so you know about the pickle. You know about the safety pickle that I am holding for those who are listening only. Carly, you mentioned, and this is a relevant question as well, so take that, Abby. You mentioned that you like to be surprising or to sort of hide behind, do the games and do the things that get people out of their shell and talking. So you have a safety pickle with you on the construction site. You are required to insert the safety pickle into a part of a person's uniform in order to get them to buy into safety. Where will you stick the pickle?
I'm probably going to stick the pickle in their tool belt, but maybe on the waistband of that tool belt where it goes in their pants. So that way it's very present on the side of their pants,
Yes.
appropriately placed.
Baptist side hug, Baptist
But
side
that's
pickle.
probably where, yeah. That way, whenever they walk or they turn, there's the pickle. It's just,
Yeah. Okay. Good
because
answer.
safety vest, I mean, I get caught on stuff, and I wouldn't put it in a safety vest. I would just put it in like some area that if someone was like,
Okay, here's what
if
I
they
would have
happen to be
done.
working at height, people would see it. And
I would have just like stuffed it up into the brim of their hard hat. That's
but
what I would have done.
then is their hard hat really secure on their head?
No, but then they'd have to inspect it and check it out and make sure and find out that it's 15
But then they'd
years
have to
old and
take
they
out the
should
pickle,
replace it.
and then that defeats the purpose.
Yeah, true.
The safety
Okay.
pickle can lead to a lot of conversations of relevant things on a job site, I'm sure.
Yeah, of
Mine
course.
went on a journey on the
for
way
sure.
home.
I've got a bunch of them. If you want, I'll send you my pickles if you want them. Never
I'll
mind.
take
Bye.
I'll take some pickles.
Hey,
This
Carly, what's your favorite snack to eat in the car?
My favorite snack: road trips, beef jerky, spicy
was-
beef jerky, so it keeps me awake.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was snappy.
That was
really good.
it was and she said it in a way that I don't think she's distracted eating it, because I thought that was kind of a trick question. You're like, we just talked about not eating, not being distracted. And you're like, hey, so what's your favorite road snack?
Jerky.
It's not messy. It doesn't leave a stain. It doesn't spill. And if it
seen me
spills,
eat it.
you could vacuum it up. And it also keeps me awake because I get like the peppered one, so it's super spicy.
Have you
Nice.
all tried biltong? I think that's how you say it. It's like
Yeah.
a dried.
Yes.
That's so hard.
It's a weird one for sure.
Yeah.
So
I have to
Carly,
really cut it thin. Anyway.
I got a question for you. What is a weird fact that you know? See, I'm a plethora of useless knowledge. What is just a weird fact that you happen to know?
A weird fact that I happen to know. Oh gosh. Oh, geckos chirp.
I did not know that.
I have geckos above my door, and you can hear them chirping. At least that's how I interpret it. But they do make some noise. Kind of sounds like they're chirping.
It's like I remember that now from being in Mexico.
They're so cute too.
Tastes great. Just kidding.
I'll let them eat the bugs. I'll just leave them alone.
Right. I'm out of questions. I blew
Oh,
it all
I
on
have one.
my pickle.
Go ahead, Abby, and
Oh.
then I've got one.
All right, cool. If you were going to design a new bumper sticker that would get your message, basically, if it's Carly on a bumper sticker talking about distracted driving, what would it say?
Distracted driving. You're not that good.
That's
Probably
awesome.
something like that.
Yeah.
But you're not
That's
that
so
good.
much. That's actually so much nicer than mine would have
Yeah.
been.
Mine would have said,
What
like,
would yours
stop
have
looking
been?
at my bumper sticker, asshole.
Mine just would have been put down your damn phone. But
There you go.
that's just mine.
Hmm.
So, Carly, if you were to get super famous and you had to go into a hotel and use a fake name, what fake name would you use to check into a hotel?
Please say it. Please say it.
Okay. Toonces McKay.
Not iCarly.
Like you thought
That-
about that?
That's actually my so my family and I came up with travel names for ourselves. That actually happens to be Toonces is the driving cat from Saturday Night Live,
Yeah.
and then I don't remember
Okay.
where I came up
I
with
thought you were
McKay,
going to say. I thought for sure you were going to say Miranda Cosgrove.
That's what I thought.
Nope.
You know,
Toonces McKay.
iCarly.
iCarly.
Not iCarly. No. It's
Oh.
too obvious. Too obvious. Nope. No, I think it was
Okay.
just more because if we just kind of take it with us,
What it
if
actually
we're
is, because
going to
your parents
Vegas,
your parents were looking for the opportunity to ditch you. I'm like, that's not our kid. That's Toonces McKay.
I could hear my mother now going, "No."
Yeah, for sure. We're just going to say it to Carly's mom, who's probably watching this episode of the
sorry. I'm sorry.
podcast. We are so thankful that you and the rest of the watchers and listeners have enjoyed this episode with Carly, our Miss McKay. If she's traveling, I mean, whatever. But we take what you've learned on this episode and put your phone down.
Yeah.
Change, do the test that Carly talked about. If you're listening or you're watching this podcast, I challenge you today to do the challenge that Carly has put forth and hold your phone face up for 30 minutes without responding. And do it at a busy time. Don't do it at like 5 o'clock in the morning when you're not getting any notifications anyway.
Man,
That's
aren't we
cheating.
busy? Don't we always get notifications at 5 o'clock? Or is that just because I'm in
Probably.
construction?
Most of them.
That's
Most of
because
us do.
these two are 2 hours ahead of me, and they're like up and at it. Adam.
And I will send you that challenge. So if anybody says, "What is that challenge again?" I will send you a copy of the challenge, and I'll also send you a copy of the link for the full webinar that I did that has a lot more information.
So
on
with
it.
that in
Yeah,
mind,
we'll include
then,
that. Oh, go ahead.
With that in mind, Carly, then tell us where we can find all your stuff and information.
All my stuff and information, you can find me on LinkedIn, Carly Baez. I also, if you're looking for that webinar, if you go to YouTube and look up Paradise Valley Police Department, and then under their videos and you scroll down, you'll see one from December of 2020 that says distracted driving, and that is my podcast, not my podcast, my webinar.
Isn't there a cartoon on Netflix called Paradise Valley PD?
It
If
sounds like it could be a show.
If it
I
is,
don't know.
it's the show I'm thinking of. That's not the YouTube channel you're looking for.
Okay.
So
On that note,
anyway.
but not on that note. I think it's a great idea for people to program their music, maybe, set the Safety Justice League podcast to play, just
I agree.
as long as you're driving, we'll talk to you. Don't worry about phones.
Well, and sometimes you have to be careful about what you're listening to as well. I think that if we listen to like a book on, no longer a book on tape, what is it? A book on cast, or if we're listening to anything that requires us to really pay attention, really think about it, that can also be distracting too. So you really want to think about what you're plugging in before you get started, because sometimes you can just get lost in thought. We get lost in our own thought, when you're driving, all of a sudden you're like, how did I get here? Did I run any red lights?
I don't remember.
Did anybody dodge out of my way? Or
Right.
we're human, but we have to be mindful that because we're human, we have to really focus on what we're doing in order to make those changes. But we have to understand where all that stems from first before we can do that.
The weird look for anybody watching is that we can't hear Jason anymore. So I guess that means it's the end of the episode, right?
I think it's the end, of the show. Today's.
It's the end of the show. We had a great run. We love all of you. No, just kidding.
It's been a good one.
It has. Sad.
Yeah, we hope you keep listening. We hope you leave us a review. We hope you subscribe. We hope you check out our website, our sidekicks. Check us out on Market Scale, all that good stuff.
SafetyJusticeLeague.net. We'll catch you again next time.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. This was really fun.
It was.
Thanks, Carly.
Awesome time.